Hello, and welcome back to Animation Movies Revisited, where we take a look back at some of the greatest animated films and rediscover why they've left a lasting impression throughout the years. In this episode, we'll travel to distant worlds where interstellar wars are underway, lifelines of societies hang by a frayed and delicate thread, and fantasies of the flesh are made real. So slip into a loincloth, throw up your horns, and reserve your stamina, because we're looking back at 1981's Canadian animated science fiction anthology, Heavy Metal. 9 years before virtuosos like Quicksand, Sleep, and Tool helped change the landscape of heavy metal music, ushering in a new and more metaphysical era of sight and sound, musical artists like Iron Maiden, Slayer, and Judas Priest were tapping into the imaginations and animalistic desires of people your parents warned you about befriending. Beyond manifesting humankind's darker tendencies as soundscapes built using fantasy, blood, and bone, heavy metal also spawned some of the most outrageous album cover art ever. Portraits of apocalyptic hellscapes, sacrilegious scenes, and creatures of a sinful nature became the backdrop for a genre that embraced many and terrified the conservative. Inspired by this musical movement of raw emotion and unchanged artistic design, director Gerald Potterton and Columbia Pictures teamed up for Heavy Metal, a boundary-pushing R-rated animated anthology aimed at adults. Produced by the late and great Ivan Reitman and Leonard Mogul, Heavy Metal presents several stories revolving around a mysterious and powerful jewel called the Lochnar, voiced by Percy Rodriguez. Self-described as the sum of all evils, the Lochnar is capable of untold destruction and is the primary antagonist of Potterton's film. In the first story, titled Grimaldi, directed by Harold Whittaker, an astronaut brings the sinister orb to his home, where his young daughter awaits her father's return from the cosmos. After melting the astronaut's flesh from his bones, the Lochnar corners the child and begins telling her various stories. In each of the Lochnar's tales of terror, the globe provides evidence of how it influenced societies throughout space and time. Seemingly, nothing can stop the Lochnar, though there's more to Grimaldi's daughter than the filmmakers behind Heavy Metal would have us believe. Potterton's Heavy Metal film is an adaptation of stories included in the magazine publication of the same name. Founded in 1977 by Leonard Mogul, the magazine began as a science fiction and fantasy anthology, with some of the industry's leading talent acting as contributors. In the beginning, Heavy Metal translated French-language stories from the magazine Metal Hurlant. Vogel discovered Metal Hurlant while visiting France. He was there to pitch a French version of the popular humor magazine National Lampoon. After landing a deal to reprint the magazine for American audiences, Metal Hurlant became Heavy Metal in the Americas. As the Americanized magazine gained readership, contributorship expanded to all parts of the globe. Intended for mature audiences, Heavy Metal invites readers into impossible worlds where swords and sorcery clash, erotic fantasies are fulfilled, and demons of imagination are turned loose. Adapting Heavy Metal for the silver screen presented a unique set of challenges. Walt Disney Animation Studios then held the keys to the animated kingdom and employed a sizable portion of the animation community to work for Mickey Mouse. At the time, Disney was only interested in adding films and shorts to its classic library. The idea of loaning or losing talent to an upstart project like the Heavy Metal movie was absurd. However, while many animators were pleased with their work at Disney, some longed to cut loose and use their talent to create something bold and taboo. Initially, the makers of Heavy Metal were going to adapt various stories from the magazine directly. However, difficulty securing the rights to each tale presented a problem. The team combined previously established material to clear this narrative hurdle, and created new stories and characters to tell an overarching story. These characters included the all-powerful Lochnar, the Corbin Dallas-like cab driver Harry Canyon, and Tarna, a sword-wielding warrior woman from Beyond the Stars. Early in the film's development, Reitman realized he'd need to think outside the box to get the project up and running. Heavy Metal was his first real foray into animation, and Disney had cornered the market. Reitman quickly began looking to fringe studios worldwide for contributors. After learning about the R-rated project, animators from France, Toronto, New York, England, and more territories were eager to come aboard. With so many people to manage, Reitman was quickly overwhelmed by the creative process, but embraced it head-on. Heavy metal wasn't only science fiction wish fulfillment, it was something no one had ever dared attempt within the industry. The final version of the heavy metal movie consists of 8 interlocking shorts, with the enigmatic Lochnar acting as the connective tissue holding them together. A different director and crew present each chapter, all under the supervision of Potterton, Reitman, and the remaining members of the production team. Despite being worked on by countless artists, the teams unified under the same animation methods. The creative process for each segment began with the storyboard process. Storyboards act like a comic book version of the movie, with critical moments sketched to create a rough roadmap for the film. After completing the storyboard, the team uses cameras to film each panel. Those panels combine to create a story reel or a Leica reel. Unlike storyboard panels, Leica reels often contain sound effects or voice lines to present a clearer picture of the desired endgame. The Leica reels for heavy metal used black and white pencil tests and were backlit frame by frame. Once the Leica reel is complete, artists, animators, and executives can experience a rough cut of the film. Leica reels present animators with an opportunity to see their mistakes on the screen. After taking copious notes, the team decides which frames to keep or delete. This procedure helps streamline the animation process and informs others about the next step, creating exposure sheets. Think of exposure sheets as special instructions for a camera operator. Exposure sheets help map movements for camera technicians, suggesting when and where to shoot. If you're in the mood to drive yourself up a wall, spend some time looking at exposure sheets online. They're a mess of lines, numbers, and instructions capable of baffling the untrained. I'm sure there's a method to the madness, but math and I never really got along, so... The animation process behind heavy metal also used rotoscoping to help animate portions of the film. Essentially serving as an elaborate tracing tool, a rotoscope lets animators draw over film footage to create a precise facsimile of the action. For heavy metal, actors wore white tape for costume markings while filming. In addition to letting the actors know where their clothes were, the tape provided animators with a point of origin for marking keyframes. These keyframes served as approved shots for the film and a tool for the artist to trace over. While we're on the subject of actors, people are often surprised to discover that heavy metal features a mosh pit of notable voice acting talent. Richard Romanus plays the hard-boiled cab driver Harry Canyon in the segment of the same name. Meanwhile, Freaks and Geeks alum and Adam Sandler entourage member Joe Flaherty voices Captain Stern's sketchy lawyer in the story Captain Stern. Susan Roman joins Romanus as a mysterious woman hoping to keep the Lochnar from a ruthless crime boss in Harry Canyon. Also, Roger Bumpus plays Hanover Fist in Captain Stern. Of course, heavy metal wouldn't be complete without some comedic Canadian royalty added to the mix. Schitt's Creek co-creator and annual winner of the Groucho Marx Eyebrow Lookalike Contest, Eugene Levy, voices Captain Stern, while the legendary John Candy voices multiple characters, including a desk clerk in Harry Canyon, Den in the segment Den, and a horny robot in the chapter So Beautiful and So Dangerous. Reitman was filming his war comedy Stripes during the making of Heavy Metal, and would often bring Candy to a recording studio to contribute dialogue to the animated anthology. Even Reitman got in front of the microphone to play Zeke, a Tommy Chong-like alien in So Beautiful and So Dangerous, who probably should have had his pilot's license revoked. I'm just saying. Finally, Toronto-based model Carol Desbiens played Tarna in the film's final chapter. While filming, Desbiens created Playboy centerfold photo sessions to capture Tarna's seductive movements on camera. While heavy metal is oozing with science fiction and fantasy goodness, a Neverwhere segment was omitted from the final product. Based on an original concept by Cornelius Cole III, Neverwhere connected Captain Stern to the film's B-17 segment. Neverwhere featured a story about the Lochnar and how it shaped the evolution of a prehistoric world. This missing chapter culminates in the start of World War II, but was scrapped to avoid pacing issues. Portions of the defunct animation were included in the special features section of Heavy Metal's home release, so be sure to check it out. Speaking of checking things out, feel free to check out other videos on this channel, as well as any others associated with the JoBlo video network. Now back to the show. No retrospective for Heavy Metal would be complete without highlighting the film's epic soundtrack. In addition to Elmer Bernstein's underappreciated score, performed by the Royal Philharmonic Orchestra with the London Voices and Jean Loriod playing the Ondes Martenot, Heavy Metal includes music by legendary bands, including Black Sabbath, Devo, Cheap Trick, Nazareth, Stevie Nicks, Journey, Grand Funk Railroad, and Blue Oyster Cult, among others. Assembling the bands required little effort because everyone was eager to contribute to the soundtrack. During an interview, Reitman said that because Columbia Pictures distributed Heavy Metal, some of the most notable rock musicians would often pass through the studio's halls. When the bands learned about Heavy Metal and its rebellious nature in the realm of animation, they seized the opportunity to contribute. While not every song appeared in the final product, most of the music created for the film remained intact. Devo went above and beyond the call of duty by appearing as an animated band in the Tarna segment playing the song Through Being Cool. You can't miss them. The band in the movie looks almost as strange as Devo does in real life. Late in the movie's production, word came down from on high that Heavy Metal would receive an early release in theaters. The rush to the finish line lopped roughly 5 months' worth of time off the project's original delivery date. This bold move sent a wave of panic across the creative team, who scrambled to complete their sequences on time. Why move the film up, you ask? The almighty dollar, of course. While targeting the midnight munchy stoner crowd, Columbia thought Heavy Metal would fare better at the box office if released earlier. With Father Time breathing down their necks, animators began working 14-hour shifts while still attending nightly ragers. The atmosphere around Heavy Metal was one of lawlessness, and many of the film's contributors preferred it that way. After a mad dash to release the film on time, Heavy Metal summoned $20.1 million at the box office. While the movie performed admirably, reviews were mixed for what some felt was a juvenile, opportunistic failure by Reitman and his team. Harsh criticisms aside, Heavy Metal remains a cult classic alongside animated features like Fire and Ice, Rock and Rule, and Fantastic Planet. A sequel titled Heavy Metal 2000 was released in, you guessed it, the year 2000. Michael Koldewey and Michelle Lemire directed the follow-up from a screenplay by Robert P. Cabin and Carl Masick. Featuring the voices of Julie Strain, Michael Ironside, Billy Idol, Rick Jones, Sonia Ball, Pierre Cohn, Brady Moffat, and Arthur Holden, Heavy Metal 2000 is based on the graphic novel The Melting Pot by Kevin Eastman, Simon Bisley, and Eric Talbot. Roasted by critics upon release, Heavy Metal 2000 includes music from Monster Magnet, MDFMK, System of a Down, Queens of the Stone Age, Machine Head, Cold Chamber, and more. While a significant part of me wants to rake Heavy Metal over the coals for its misogyny and .45mm guitar pick thin character development, I can't help but admire what Potterton, Reitman, and the rest of the team achieved while making this movie. To its credit, Heavy Metal offers no apologies for what it is, an erotic anthology fueled by the fiction, attitudes, and music that inspired the original magazine. The movie provides a cornucopia of otherworldly delights, while tickling the nether regions of metalheads, science fiction enthusiasts, and exhibitionists of expression. Each film segment presents a world as diverse as the aliens that watch us with disdain from the stars. While outdated by today's standards, the animation methods used in Heavy Metal give the film a classic, almost archival feel. When you consider the guerrilla approach to assembling the team and the rebellious position of all involved with the production, heavy metal acts as a middle finger to the mouse and the man. After noodling on it harder than an Eddie Van Halen guitar solo, I'll give heavy metal 7 Buzz Lightyears out of 10. In many ways, heavy metal is a celebration of spirit, collaboration, and unchained imagination. It tapped into lascivious urges and defied every law of tradition of the mainstream animation environment at the time of its release. While I do find aspects of the film offensive, I admire the animation on display, its inspired soundtrack, an unapologetic approach to bringing a bold, adult-oriented vision into what is often a family-friendly arena. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's time I slip on my headphones and crank up bands like Ghost, Opeth, Mastodon, Brutus, and Pygmy Love Circus to 11. I'll catch you next time, folks. Until then, raise your horns and let's get rockin'.